Good morning. Remember story problems in grade school math class? It was the educational department's trying to make math relevant in our lives. So we tried, but I didn't like them either. If a westbound train leaves Poughkeepsie traveling 80 miles an hour, and an eastbound train leaves LA traveling 120 miles an hour, in what city will they pass each other? Who cares? I'm taking a plane anyway. But here is a story problem that I think you can appreciate. If Johnny has an apple pie, and he gives one piece to Susie and one piece to Mary, how much pie does Johnny have left? Well, depends. How many pieces were in the apple pie? There's only so many pieces in the proverbial apple pie, you know. And the more he gives away, the less he has for himself. So much for sharing. Ever since you were a kid, your well-meaning parents would encourage you to share. On your birthday, you had to bring treats to share with the whole class, right? And then even at home, you had to share your favorite toys with any other kid that came around. Not fair! You stomped your feet and whined. Well, dramatics aside, you were absolutely right. The concept of sharing is flawed. Sharing assumes you have a finite amount of something, and if you give away part of it, then you have less. So yes, I agree that concept is not fair. Now, imagine, if you will, this earth as a big round pie, and each continent is a slice of the pie. And then those slices are further carved up until there are 7 billion pieces of pie. Now, of course, the carver-in-chief does not always measure those pieces of pie. They slash out some little slivers for some people and some big chunks for others. So with such a limited resource, it's no wonder nobody wants to share their piece of the pie, right? Well, now you have a visual for how most people view the inequities of the world. There are the haves and the have-nots. That's just how the pie is cut up. But what if there were a way for Johnny to give away as many pieces of pie as he wants and still have plenty of pie to spare? What if there are really unlimited pies? There'd be no reason not to share, right? Well, my husband in the audience there is the excellent pie baker in our family. But I've watched him enough times to know what goes into a really good pie. As with any recipe, you have to start with the best ingredients. So today, I'm going to show you how to make an abundance pie. And we'll start with a recipe. It's very easy, just 3 simple ingredients. Talk, think, thank. Simple as pie, right? So put on your aprons and let's get to work. The first ingredient for an abundance pie is talk. Now let me ask you, who do you talk to the most? Is it your best friend, or maybe your spouse or a family member? Well, especially during these recent quarantine times, I would guess the person you talk to the most is yourself. In the book, What Do You Say When You Talk to Yourself?, author Shad Helmstetter describes 5 levels of self-talk. So listen up and see if you recognize any of these in your daily conversations. Level 1 self-talk is notorious for those "I can't" conversations that you have with yourself. I can't figure this out. I wish I could, but I can't. If only there were a way. Now, what do all these phrases have in common? Negative acceptance. You say something negative about yourself and then you accept it. Anybody ever do that? Once or twice? By saying the word only, you're revealing a limited consciousness. There's only so much available. And when you say "I can't," you're telling yourself to doubt your own abilities, to just give up and go hide in the shadows somewhere. Now, the second level of self-talk is when you recognize that you need to change. You might say, "I need to eat more healthy," or "I really should exercise more," which sounds a little more positive, but it doesn't give you much hope, does it? Because usually you say, "I really should, but I can't." It's easy to fall back into that level 1 self-talk with a little added guilt and disappointed on top. Now, in level 3 self-talk, that's when you've made a decision to change. Your self-talk is starting to work for you instead of against you. When you say something like, "I never eat more than I should," or "I no longer have a problem getting along with people at work," or maybe, "I always find a way to have enough of what I need." At this point, what you're doing is you're telling your subconscious mind that that previous issue that you were plagued with, it no longer applies to you because you've made the decision to change. And you know what? Because you said it, your subconscious mind believes you, and that will become your truth. Now, level 4 self-talk is called the better you conversation. It's the conversation you have with the person you were meant to be. I am confident and competent. I am always in the right place at the right time. And when you say those 2 words, those most important words that Source gave us, I am, you're finally recognizing the being that you were meant to be. By saying I am, you're creating your own world. Now, level 5 self-talk is akin to prayer. It's when you're talking to that God within you. It is. It's a universal affirmation. It is a oneness with God. I am at one with the universe, and it is one with me. I am of it, within it, and exist as a shining spark in the firmament of divine goodness. Now, doesn't that make you feel tingly all over? That is the power of our talk. Okay, ready to add the next ingredient making this abundance pie. The next ingredient is think. Now, our co-founder, Charles Fillmore, writes in Lessons in Truth, and he says, everything that appears in the universe had its origin in mind. Mind evolves ideas, and ideas express themselves in thoughts and words. So a few minutes ago, we were easily able to visualize this world pie because we had an idea that evolved into a thought, and I expressed it in my words. The very fact that you can visualize in your mind an ideal condition in the world, that's the beginnings of creating that condition in the physical realm. Fillmore describes something called infinite mind, or the mind of God, as being here ideas that are resources for us, that are ours to use. What we become is a direct result of taking in these ideas and using them. We can literally choose to see the world differently. Now, we've all learned through our unity teachings that we can accumulate these ideas of strength and power, of life and love, and of plenty. And once these ideas enter our minds, then it's our job to make them express into physical. Now, in our linear way of thinking, if you give something away, it's no longer yours, and you have less. Yet, in nature's kingdom, the kingdom of God, there is unlimited abundance. I mean, just look around you. Look at the palm fronds and the coconuts and the chickens running around. Nature never lacks. It's our human minds that have come up with this silly idea of lack and limitation. And when humans get that idea in their head, that's when they start trying to grab other people's piece of the pie. So how do we change that? Think differently. So what Charles Fillmore meant was letting go of that false belief that there isn't enough and to think with divine mind. He said divine mind has ideas of substance that are unlimited and everywhere present, available in equal measure to all. And when we align with divine mind and know that we have the faith, that's when we go into prayer. That part of the Lord's Prayer that we just read, give us this day our daily bread, could be more accurately described as, give us today the substance of tomorrow's bread. The substance meaning the ideas, so we can create tomorrow's better world. Now, through prayer, that's how we accumulate those ideas from the mind of God, that God is our support and our supply. Regardless how much God gives out, there's always an abundance left. And as Fillmore pointed out, God does not give us material things. He doesn't give us things, he gives us ideas. And those are ours to turn into reality. Because the spiritual forces are in motion. Once we plant an idea in our minds, the universe is free to make it come to fruition. We all know intuitively that poverty of any sort is just wrong. And we would not knowingly create a world of poverty. So, because lack is not possible in God's universe, when we think we see poverty, we are truly just not seeing the kingdom as God created it. So God has given to us, as it says in the Bible, all things will be added to those that seek the kingdom of heaven. And it's God's good pleasure to give you the kingdom, each one of you. With a promise like that, you know there's a never-ending supply. Because in God's kingdom, it's a circulatory system. And in nature, you don't go out and pick the flowers and they never come up again. No, they just know to come right back up. You go out and mow the grass and it doesn't say, oh, that's it, I'm done. No, next week you're out there doing it again. So doesn't it stand to reason that what we give out is going to keep coming back? Yes. So the more we give, the more we will be part of the circulatory system that is abundance. When we give, more will be given to us. Now that takes us to the third ingredient in our abundance pie: thank. Unity minister Eric Butterworth wrote in Unity, A Quest for Truth. Essentially, unity is a technique of realizing an abundant life. It consists of thoughts to think, words to speak, and positive and creative things to do. And one of the most positive and creative actions you can take is to join in with this flow of abundance. It takes a commitment to do it, to share the abundance that's in your own life. You've heard the word tithing before, and you might have thought it meant giving money to the poor. But a tithe is actually not viewed as a gift, but rather a portion of our good that we choose to share in gratitude and to acknowledge the flow of good into our own lives. Much like a farmer will take part of his best crop and return it to the soil to ensure next year's harvest. When we feel closest to source, it's when we share our abundance with others. A tithe literally means a tenth. And though money is our primary instrument of value, you each have many ways that you can share your abundance. You may tithe your time. The normal waking hours, 10% is about 90 minutes. Take that time each day to get in touch with your spiritual nature, to pray and enjoy the activities that are important to you. It's important to nourish yourself because then you're better able to help others. You can tithe your talent. Maybe you can take, 10% of a 40-hour work week would be 4 hours a week. You could volunteer to some community event, to something that means, an organization or a person that means something to you. Especially now, during these tough times, who can you help? A friend or a neighbor? What talent do you have that would be really important to someone else? And you can also tithe your treasure, the flow of money into your life. Now, this is not considered a donation, and it's not what's left over after you pay all your bills and buy everything you want. Remember, a tithe is a thank you. It's a thank you for the abundance that is given to you that you're willing to share. Do you have a church that uplifts you? Maybe an author that you really enjoy, or a musician that makes your heart sing? Share your good with them so they can turn that into more giving of their talent. Giving your time and your talent and your money may seem scary at first because it does take faith that the nature's abundance will work for you. Remember, give and it's given to you. Or as my grandfather used to say, it's not what you gather, it's what you scatter that tells what kind of life you've led. Very sage advice. So to do the work that is ours to do, to create these unlimited pies, and to realize the world of plenty, talk to yourself and to others as God speaks. There is power in speaking truth. Think abundance and see prosperity. Notice all the beauty and abundance around you. And thank by appreciating all the things that you have and sharing the flow of the infinite supply. And here's a little known secret. The more you notice things to appreciate, the more things will come into your life to appreciate even more. all things in nature trust their source. Doesn't it say in the Bible, God knows every need, and every need is wonderfully met? Are we not supplied by the same source? I encourage you to be willing to commit to an abundant way of life, because resources really do follow a commitment. What we say, what we think and believe becomes true for us because of the spiritual law. If it works for the grass and the coconuts and the chickens, why wouldn't it work for you? And while everybody else is trying to get their piece of the pie, realize that the world is an abundant kitchen full of wonderful blessings, and you can make your own unlimited pies. And then you can share the bounty that God has given. You just have to start with the best ingredients. Talk, think, and thank. As Unity co-founder Myrtle Fillmore puts it, get busy using the truth that you know. Bring forth your own world of love, friendship, beauty, and plenty. There is within you the God-given intelligence to build such a world. You have nothing to lose and everything to gain. And sometime soon, you're going to say to yourself, yeah, I am a great pie maker. Thank you.